Innocently, you think, I'll have a cup of tea and a croissant. I think, that's no good. But the amount of saturated fat in there is going to clog up your internal arteries. You're on a slippery slope. Heart attack, heart disease, strokes. Some of these medication can cause stomach ulcers. So if you're taking ibuprofen long term, just got to be wary of it. Government used to give cigarettes to soldiers, when they're out fighting, and just to get rid of the boredom, those soldiers were going to get cancer.
Raj Pharmacist is a trailblazer in the pharmaceutical industry, known for his innovative approach to making healthcare accessible to all. Over the years, he has received numerous prestigious awards, including the Excellence in Pharmaceutical Innovation Award. Raj's legacy serves as an inspiration to future generations in the field of healthcare.
You start thinking about every muscle in your body. Don't just keep popping the pills because you're thinking, right, I wouldn't knock it. Now with modern medicine, but we're still not sure what's happening to the brain. They've disappeared now.
But can you reverse some of the damage that you've done, and how?
People think if you stop smoking and you start vaping, it's safer. Life has ended.
Paracetamol.
It can cause kidney problems, liver disease, heart problems. And I've had friends that I always used to tell them, why are you taking omeprazole? How I was able to be in this position. We had to come to the UK with nothing and build everything from scratch. I hardly ever saw my dad. Heart disease he had, diabetes, blood pressure. At the time I had my business, so I couldn't spend as much time with them either. Biggest regrets, my biggest failure.
Welcome back to Take a Seat. This is the #1 channel for mindset and motivation. Today, we have a pharmacist. He's actually award-winning. He's been doing this career for the last 33 years. So I thought he's quite qualified to let us know how to look after our health. So without further ado, let's welcome Raj Pharmacist.
Sean, I feel really proud, privileged and humbled to be here sitting in your presence and on this podcast. So thank you so much for the invite. And let's see what we can talk about today.
100. We're going to make this a good one. If somebody's watching right now, what is one thing that they're going to learn that they didn't know before this podcast?
I think the most important thing, health is wealth. Okay. Look after your health from today, not from yesterday or in the future. From this moment, think about all the things that can make you healthy, because 20, 30 years down the line, you don't want to have those regrets. Whether if you're smoking, if you're eating too much salt, if you're drinking too much alcohol, eating all the wrong foods, the McDonald's and the croissants and the Subways, have them in moderation. But remember, everything that you invest in your own body is going to have an impact down the line.
Makes sense. I mean, health is such a big one, not just with your physical appearance, but also like there's things like brain fog. Is that a thing?
Yeah, obviously things like dementia. I don't know if you've ever heard of dementia, where over time, our brain is one of the most complex organs that, we still don't know anything about. People are aging longer. Unfortunately, my dad, bless him, we lost him a few years back, but he had dementia. For the last 10 years of his life, he was in his own cloud, in his own brain. He was trapped. Though he was there in presence, I don't think he was there in mind. So that's probably one of my biggest regrets. My biggest failures was not being able to support him. Though I've got all the knowledge, the experience, I know what the drugs are, what they can do, side effects. But when somebody so close to you has that medical condition and you can't really help them, it's a tough one. And the other thing is, it's like, make sure you're looking after your immediate friends and family. If they need help and support, that's the most important thing that you can help them with. All the rest, the finance, the friendship, the going away on holidays. But if you can help them at the most needed time when they're unhealthy, it's worth so much.
A lot of people are chasing money. They're chasing them pound notes. They're doing silly hours, bags under their eyes. You can see them. And it's like, hey, I can see you got a nice house. You got a nice car. You got a family there. But you're still running after, like, you've got 40 properties. You want 41, 42, 50 houses. And they put this money as this big trophy. And the thing is, some people don't even have that lifespan to enjoy it.
That's correct. And, have that dream, have that passion and a purpose. But at what stage are you going to at what stage are you going to get contentment? There's always somebody that's going to have more money than you. You may have 10 million, but somebody out there, I'm guarantee, is on 50 million. There's somebody who's earning 100 million. And there's the Jeff Bezos and the Bill Gates. They've got billions. So at what level? And the thing you got to think about is be content with what you have. As I said earlier, live in the moment. Be grateful for the great things that you have. We have simple things in life that we can be grateful for here in the UK and in the modern world. Hot water, food, good transport, the schools, all the rest of it. But if you're out in a third world country somewhere and you have to walk somewhere to get water, you don't have food, you don't have shelter, there you go. You're already in a good place.
How do you find contentment? Today you have so much social media, and as soon as you open that app, you're hooked onto it, and you're seeing how someone is the number one artist, someone is the best sports person out there. And it's always like a different high. Someone's wearing the latest trainers, someone's waiting on the best holiday. And everything is just like, as soon as you open these apps, it's like your heart starts beating and saying, what am I actually doing in my life? And that thing of contentment, which some people can just go for a simple walk in the park and going, I'm happy to be alive today, and I see these lovely trees and I get to breathe, and my life is not so bad. Like, I have hot water, as you say. Where do you find contentment in a world which is so labored with, all of these short-term highs?
I think the short-term highs are just short fixes. Contentment is finding contentment in yourself and what you do. As long as you have a passion and purpose in something, that's how you're going to find contentment. If you're chasing money thinking that's going to get you contentment, I guarantee it isn't. Chase something that will make you personally happy. It could be the simple things in life. It could be just, sitting in the garden or doing some gardening and making sure it's the best garden there is. Going for those walks, experiencing the birds and the bees and the rustling of the trees, all those little things. And they don't cost you much. You don't need to go to a fancy restaurant and eat fancy food. Being at home with your family, having food with your own family and talking right around the table instead of having your phone switched on. You'll regret those down the line. And, I keep telling people the phone is not the be-all and end-all. The be-all and end-all is having that connection with your friends and your family, because they'll be there to support you in years to come.
What if you do what you're passionate about, and it takes a bit of your time up? And when you do something you're passionate about, you don't really look at the time because you're like, I just want to get to this sort of, I'm on my journey and I want to get there as fast as possible. So what if there's an extra hour or hour there? I can see results of this creation in my head. And then there could be your nearest and dearest family who don't agree with it and go, oh, what are you doing this silly thing for? Or, you don't need to do that, or you should leave all of that. And people don't see eye to eye. How do you deal with that?
I think, once again, as long as you've got your own purpose, there's always going to be people that disagree with what you do, right? Simple things like, when I was younger, I wanted to be a snooker player, right? And I used to love Steve Taylor. I can't even remember. Steve Davis, Dennis Taylor, all those players. And I used to religiously at the weekends live at the snooker halls. But the option was become a snooker player or do a profession. And obviously in them days, we didn't have the choice. If I had the choice today, I'd probably be in a different position, but in them days, professional vocation was the norm. And in a way, I'm glad I went down that route, because I've had an amazing career. I've had great successes. I've had failures as well. But, it's just, once you find something, just go with it with great guns. Don't look back. Don't hold back. Anything you do in life, even if you're digging a hole, make sure it's the best hole that nobody can dig better than you. If you're hoovering the house, hoover it in the best capability, ironing, all these little things, you feel contentment that you've done your best job.
Yeah. So tell me, what's the difference between a doctor and a pharmacist? Because a pharmacist is just somebody who's got a white coat on and he looks at the prescription, what the expert's given, and going, oh, yeah, here you go. I know what that is. I can read that name, and there you go. Um, is that what your title
Really
is?
that simple, Sean,
Well,
on my
I don't
days.
know. Some people think so.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think it's really simple, that all the pharmacist has to do is to read the prescription. As long as he can read the doctor's handwriting, that's something we're trained at, because a lot of people cannot read. So that comes with experience over time. And people think, okay, we just tap it in a little computer, get the box off the shelf, stick a label, and out it goes. A pharmacist has 4 years of training, and then 1 year they do a pre-registration where you're under the guidance of another pharmacist, like a professional vocation. So 4 years we talk about and we learn about medicines, the body, how medication works on the body, how medicines are made, the chemical entities, pharmacology, which is how the body works with medicines, etc. So 4 years, how to make the medicines, compounding, how the tablets are made and how they dissolve, pharmacology, pharmacognosy, pharmaceutics. There's quite an intense course. It's really exciting. I mean, I loved chemistry when I was younger, and I enjoyed. Do you remember the early days when you had the Bunsen burners? I don't know if you remember, Sean, and you're doing experiments and putting magnesium in, and you're getting all these sparks. I mean, so it's great fun, and I'm actually really grateful that chemistry was my passion. Early on in my life, when I was 11 years old, my chemistry teacher actually said to me, Raj, it's still ringing in my ears to this day. He's going, Raj, and in them days he used to call you Mr. Patel. It wasn't Raj, it was Mr. Patel. He said, Mr. Patel, I don't think you're ever going to make it as a chemist. So maybe little things like that planted in your head. Something said to me, right, I need to prove you wrong. So difference between a pharmacist and a doctor. Doctor will see you, assess your situation, and then appropriately diagnose. And then probably diagnose what your condition is, and then give you medicines that's appropriate. When that prescription comes to the pharmacy, we are assessing it that, first of all, it's the right medication for you, your dosage, whether you're on other medication, your age, your weight, all of those things. We would make sure, whether the dosing, as doctor sometimes write the wrong dose. If we give you an overdose, you're in trouble. If you give you underdose, it's not going to do the thing. Interactions, contraindications, if you've got kidney problems, if you've got liver disease, if you've got heart problems, if you're taking multiple medications, in that few minutes, we have to assess whether that medication is suitable for you. And obviously, if we make a judgment call and say, right, this is all safe, off you go. But there could be an opportunity or a chance to say, well, actually, Sean, this medicine might not be suited for you. So there, we contact the doctor, have that clinical discussion, and say, maybe this one's not right for Sean, and give him something else.
That's right. Just move the mic a little bit closer if you can.
Okay.
I want to ask that there's a scientific study out there that normally during the morning, doctors are more present and diagnosing people a little bit more creatively. And as the day goes on and on, they get more tired, and the more prescriptions for paracetamols just come out and say, just take a paracetamol. Now, not directly to that statement, I want to ask you is how often do you feel doctors are misdiagnosing people, not spotting what these people actually need, rather than giving them a tablet that just masks an issue?
I can't give you the stats as to how often they misdiagnose, but I can give you an example that happened to me literally 2 months ago. It was during the Euro finals when England were playing. I think they were in the semis and they just managed to get into the final. But that night when I went to bed, I had serious backache and groin area. I couldn't move. And I was thinking, hold on, somebody who's generally fit, I do a lot of running. I've run marathons in the past. I keep fit. 3-4 miles I run nearly every day. I was in a state of shock. I thought, what's happened to me? Fortunately, I was off the next day. So managed to book an appointment with the doctor and had a young doctor there. I think it's newly qualified, sat me down. I explained all the symptoms. And straight away, he said to me, Raj, I think you've got polymyalgic rheumatica. And he wanted to start me on steroids and give me a proton pump inhibitor to help my stomach. And I was like, whoa, hold on a second. This has happened all of a sudden. Before we even go down that route, let's do some blood tests. So fortunately, I managed to get a blood test done on the same day. I mean, the NHS sometimes is just an amazing thing that we don't realise how good it is. In other countries, you know, people have to pay privately. But I managed to get a blood test done on the same day. I was still in a lot of pain. And I was thinking the blood test results is going to take a few days. And then I thought maybe it's a physical problem. I had a friend who's an amazing physiotherapist, rang him up and said, can you see me today? He said, look, I'm really busy. Can't see you today. And I was like, we're getting really distraught. The pain, I could hardly move. He rang me up later in the afternoon and said, Raj, I can slot you in during my tea break. Went in. He diagnosed the problem straight away. It was a physical thing as opposed to a internal thing. We did 2 or 3 sessions of physiotherapy and I've been fine. So can you imagine, possibly as a non-professional, I would have taken the doctor's decision there and then. So what I'm saying is that sometimes you have to trust your own body. You know what's wrong with you. If the doctor gives you a diagnosis, it's his perception or her perception of what could be wrong with you at that moment with the information that you've given. On another day, when you go in, you might say it slightly differently, and they might hear it slightly differently too. So they may give you slightly different diagnosis. But you, as an individual, which is what I think a lot of people also need to do, is to take ownership of their own health and think and do your own research. What could it be? I know there's Dr. Google, but gather information, speak to lots of different professionals, not only the doctor, physio, pharmacist, nurse. There's different consultants out there, and get a second opinion sometimes, because that will make it so much better for you and you might get the right treatment. Don't always go on the first thing that's said to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got examples of that in my feed as well. You know, I do posts on certain things that happen to patients when the misdiagnosis happened. And what we need to do is just be more aware. You know your own health and you know your child's health better than any doctor ever will. So sometimes it's just taking ownership of that.
I had a really good question here for you. Cancers are on the rise, or so it looks like. Maybe we're better at spotting cancers, and so studies look like in cancers increased, but maybe it could have been a time where, that guy just died young, don't know, he suddenly died, etc. Do you think that cancers are on the rise? And if so, what are causing cancers?
I would probably say detection is better now than it was in the past. So that's probably one thing that is happening. Whether they're on the rise, I would probably say they are because of the lifestyle that everybody leads. It's fast-paced environment. Everything has to be done yesterday. You know, if the Wi-Fi is down for 2-3 minutes, you're thinking, oh my God, life has ended. And we want answers there and then. Stress, family, children, pressures of trying to keep up with the Joneses, and not taking stock of yourself. As I said earlier, living in the moment, relaxing, spending some quality time, maybe even just investing in yourself. A simple thing I tell everyone is to go for a walk every day, 20 minutes. It's really simple, Sean. 10 minutes, walk one way, turn around, come 10 minutes back. Okay. And each day you do the same thing, but you get quicker and faster. And by the end of the week, if you've done that 20 minutes, half an hour every day, the returns are huge. And the benefits that you're going to get internally on your health, you're out in the fresh air, you've got greenery around you. And even if it's rain, sleet, snow, you can still invest in yourself. So let's go back to the question about, is cancer on the increase? I think it's people are eating maybe the wrong things as well. Healthy food, home cooked food, all this ultra processed foods we see on the TV, the KFCs, the McDonald's, the Subways. Park them, have them as a treat once or twice a month for the rest of the time. But it's all in your face. Everywhere you go, you walk down the high street, you've got all these fast food joints. People have a croissant every day. Yeah, they think, oh, I'll have a croissant and a cup of tea. Well, you're aware that if you have a croissant every day for 24 days, I've done a video, that it increases your risk of heart attack by 20% and the risk of liver and kidney problems by 10%. Now, innocently, you think, I'll have a cup of tea and a croissant. You think, that's no good. But the amount of saturated fat in there that is going to clog up your internal arteries, you're on a slippery slope. Heart attack, heart disease, strokes, all of these, and the risk of cancers. So eat healthy. You got to eat healthy food, fresh fruit, vegetables. It's not rocket science. Keep it really, really simple. Eating plant sterols, nuts, legumes, chickpeas, all the natural foods, antioxidant fruits, vegetables, blueberries, bananas, lots of fiber in your diet. And that will mitigate the risk of you having cancers and long-term illnesses. There's also the other side, is that when you take certain medication, you don't know what's doing internally, and those can cause risk of long-term illnesses and cancer as well. So don't think that the medicine, though they might be curing you today, 10, 15 years down the line, there may be certain risks associated with it.
Can you reverse some of your arteries being blocked up or fatty deposits in your veins and arteries and stuff? Like, say you have been that person who's been eating that croissant and, with your coffee and stuff, and then you go, I've just watched this podcast right now. That's a bit wrong. All right, I'm going to start eating healthier. But can you reverse some of the damage that you've done, and how?
Yeah, just eating the right things. Plant sterols, I was watching the show again. We're watching it for the second time, The Blue Zones. I don't know if you've seen it on Netflix. Amazing show.
Blue zones.
Blue Zones, yeah. So basically, the certain countries in the world where people are living till they're 100 years old. And it's all down to diet, lifestyle, community, living as a community. Another thing that I think is happening to the modern society, in the olden days, and you see it in our sort of cultures, the Indian cultures, the older generation, they bonded together because they were living together in the local villages, etc. And even to this day, they're still connected 20, 30 years down the line because they know the power of the community. So the blue zones is those people are living longer, but for what reason? Okay, so it boils down to the diet. Eating the right foods, healthy, home-cooked food. You know exactly what's been put into the food. You're eating it together as a family, as a community. It's not just you eating on your own. A lot of the medical problems that we have is that people are getting isolated. They're eating at home on their own. They might be in the same family, but they're all eating at different times because everybody's got different agendas. They're in and out. But eating together is such a powerful thing, and having the bond with your family, with your friends, and everybody's looking after each other. You don't feel alone. It's like if we were connected in some way and something happened to me, Sean, you'd come and say, Raj, do you need any help? Are you okay? And me knowing that I've got Sean there, it's going to look after me if I need help, it eases the mind, doesn't it? You're not alone. And there's lots of people out there just because of loneliness. They're not feeling well and they get medical conditions that sort of creep in. The blue zones, let's continue on that. The reason people are living longer is that they're keeping active. When you watch the show, you'll see that some of these 90, 100 years old people, the temple is at the top of the hill. So every day it's a 2-hour ritual. They can only just manage to walk up to the temple and they turn around and come back. But they're using muscles in their body that we get out of our car, we get into our office, we sit down. Once you finish your day job, you get in your car, you go home, you sit at the table, and then you get into the bed. But how many of those muscles are you actually using? So what they've also done, which is what we used to do when we were younger, we used to sit and eat on the floor. The benefits of sitting on the floor, you have to use different muscles to get up and down, up and down. And if you're using those every day, you're not going to get any arthritis or pain or muscle problems or back problems, because every muscle is being utilized. Things like alcohol, have alcohol, but have it in moderation. You don't need to go out. And unfortunately, I think a modern way that people see, and we've probably all done it, is that you go through your teenage years, and then all of a sudden you have 5 or 6 years where you're just binging and going out and fancy holidays, but you don't realize the impact that that's having on your life down the line. And then when you hit your 30s, 35s, you realize, actually, back when I was 20, maybe I shouldn't have done what I was doing. So at the beginning of this podcast, I mentioned that invest in your health from today. So every single person, no matter how old or young you are, if you start investing today, so you ask me, how do you reverse cholesterol or clog arteries? Drink lots of water. Drink water every day. People don't drink enough water, at least 2 liters a day. Fresh fruit or vegetables. How much fresh fruit and vegetables do you eat a day, Sean? 5, 6, 10 portions a day.
What about some people are saying, oh, this is full of pesticides and all these chemicals. I might even eating the real like fruit and vegetables. There's fruit in my bowl for a week and it's not gone bad. That's not right.
But then mass produced, this is this is what we're faced with now. I mean, I don't know how we change that. The only other option is maybe grow it in your back garden. Then it's the real deal.
For sure.
And this is what they do in the blue zones. The people are doing the gardening and they're 70, 80, 90 years old, growing the foods in their back garden, cultivating them every day. So they've got a sense of responsibility. And people think, right, I'm going to retire when I'm 60, 65. Some of these people are still working when they're 70, 80, 90 years old. It reminds me of a trip when we went to Vietnam with my daughters many, many years ago. And they had this big longboat. And we all got on. We had a whole group of us get onto this longboat. And I was expecting a 20, 25-year-old to jump out, load all the bikes on and then take us away. And I was surprised there was an 80-year-old woman steering this longboat. And you think, what? So there you go. You got to keep working and keep active as long as possible.
Is it all about that muscle memory and keeping the muscles active, and that keeps moving you along? And as soon as you stop using the muscle, they almost die.
Yeah. Well, think about it. If you sat at your desk for 8 hours, right? And when you get up, what happens? And it must have happened to you, happens to me as you get older. It's stiffened up, or you're tight, or you're thinking, why have I got a back problem? I've been sat around all day. It's because you're not utilizing those muscles. So, people need to get up every 15, 20 minutes, take a 2-3 minute break. You can actually exercise around your desk as well. Simple things, stretching against the door or the wall, just stretching muscles, and start thinking about every muscle in your body, not just the core muscles and the back, but the small muscles like your calf muscles, muscles that you may have never used. And just start an exercise. Do yoga and Pilates. That's another great way of doing it.
So powerful. I went to Crete last year and I went again this April. And when I went there, we went to a farm. We met Jessica, who was a goat, and we milked her goat's milk. They let us try this drink called raki, which is like another version of tequila, and also this olive oil. And they said, look, some freshly made bread, taste it and stuff. And I was like, with the Cretan diet out there, it just felt like it was like never any bloatiness, any impact. It was quite fresh. And I said, what's the average age of somebody around here? And they said, about 110, And I was like, and he said it very normally. I said 110. He goes, yeah, people work. They normally take a couple of hours during the day, like 2 o'clock to 4, 5 o'clock, where they go to sleep, and then they come back out because it's not so hot. Then they can carry on farming, and they work to 8, and then they'll wake up early in the morning as well. And they just eat this sort of food, and it was just like mind blowing, you know. So I totally agree with you. There's certain people in the world who are doing certain things that are elongating their health. How healthy is sushi?
I would, yeah. I don't really like sushi. My daughter loves sushi, but it's definitely the way forward. Omega-3 oils in their fish. Definitely worth an option. People that have sushi do, I would say, live longer. I can't. I don't get it. I don't know if you like sushi yourself.
Love sushi, but soy sauce. I never used to. And also, you realize like when you go to an Indian, you get a big plate of biryani, mountain of it. But when you have sushi, it's like a little round bit of rice compacted with a bit of fish inside, and you pace yourself, and you got some little crispy onions and stuff on it, like, you know. And generally there was one of the European countries, I can't remember which one it was, someone's going to be shouting it at the screen right now, but they said that they are the biggest consumer of Japanese food, and that is the longest living people in Europe who eat them sort of
And I
foods.
think what you've said with your mountain of biryani and the portion, it's all about portion control as well. So when you see a mountain of biryani, your head is telling you, wow, I've got all this food, I need to eat it all. What you have to train your brain is, right, you only eat enough to fill yourself to 80%. You don't, once you go past that, that's when you're going to get the bloating.
But people don't want to stop until they go brr, burping and my belly's out there, and I'm just like,
Yeah, but then you suffer.
oh, you know,
Okay, and
I
then
shouldn't have had that last spoon.
yeah, and that's the norm. But then, you know, that's all about control. You know, if you don't have that control, what's going to happen, right? If you fill yourself up every time to the limit, your body's going to find it harder to break the food down. And if you've overloaded yourself, all that extra food, the body stores it as fat. So then what happens? Month on month, you're going to put on a pound, going to put on a pound. By the end of the year, you've put on a stone. Following year, if you carry on that route every year, you put it on a stone just because of what you've eaten, then that's going to cause other complications.
Is having fat dangerous?
To a limit.
Do diseases mutate in a fat zone? Like, imagine I've got extra couple of layers, these are fat cells that have grown storing fat. Is there any proof that that can cause problems with you?
It's a great question, but I'm not sure if I can answer that now. But I do know that if you are carrying excess weight and excess fat, then you've got increased risk of having other problems like heart disease, heart problems. A nice lean Sean, the heart doesn't need to work hard to keep all the muscles going. But if you're carrying extra weight and you're walking, your heart's going to have to work extra hard to keep you going. So next time, you know, you're at the gym, you know, carry extra weights and see how you feel. And just imagine that weight as your extra fat that you're carrying. You won't be able to work out as well. You got increased risk of heart attack, strokes. The excess fat is definitely not good for your body. No. So we need to reduce the amount of fat. Obesity is on the rise, not only in this country, but in the US and even all the countries that are becoming modernized. It's because of all the fast foods that we overconsume.
And more people are working from home, so there's less movement, and we're living in a world where everything's digital now. So we want a meeting, yeah, let's switch the Zoom on. You know, oh, you need something, let's just message each other. So how do you get away from that lifestyle to say, hey, hang on, technology's moved on at an astronomical pace, but it wasn't that long ago until we were, we were hunter-gatherers. You know, we were going out there to hunt for food.
But you just answered it. Simple thing. we were out hunting and gathering. So we just need to go back to basics. Put the phone down for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It doesn't matter if you have that meeting or somebody's WhatsApping you. I think we're overconsumed that as soon as somebody messages you, you've got to answer it straight away. Take time out, half an hour, as I said earlier, to go for that walk. Invest in yourself. An hour to go and spend with your family, making sure that you're having family time. Go and meet your friends, because that's the only way that's going to take you out of the bubble of the social media and the phone. And you see it everywhere you go. Everybody's on their phone. Maybe just switch it off. And when you're on the train, talk to someone.
Oh, mate.
Isn't
That's
it?
a big one, man. I talked to somebody the other day on the train. They just looked at me like I was crazy. And it was just like, bro.
My daughter's the same to me. Everywhere I go, I strike up a conversation. And my youngest daughter, she's actually said to me, Dad, because she's at university now, she says, Dad, I take the exact skills that I've been seeing all these years and I use them. And she actually makes so many friends like that just by talking to people. And that's the way of not being lonely anymore, isn't it?
It's true. Do you think that Asian food, like Indian food, is unhealthy? Because sometimes you can see like a curry and it's got a layer of oil on top of it. There's so many powders. Like that thing about self-diagnosing. I literally eat Indian food once a month now, because it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
You eat the rotis and it's just pure flour and dough, and I feel bloated and doesn't feel good. All these garam masala gives me heartburn, and I'm like, I shouldn't be feeling like this. And it's taken me years to kind of go, there's an ingredient in this that doesn't agree, and then you take that. It's, you got too much chili in it. I said, no, it's not the chili, because sometimes it doesn't happen even when it is chili. And then you start to take the garam masala. And so if somebody does put garam masala in it, I'm like, this got garam masala, isn't it? And then they go, no, yeah, maybe, So it's like, and I'm not being racist at all, but you walk down the road and somebody in their mid-30s who's from an Indian, Asian sort of background, all of a sudden you see these skinny chicken legs, you see a big gut, you can see inflammation, you can see it, you can see like they can't even breathe properly, and they're going like these kind of sounds, and I'm around a lot of people now. Sometimes I just feel like it doesn't feel right, and it took me to go into new circles who didn't consume these foods for me to then go, hey, hang on, I've just looked back and this makes sense. And for me to come away from some of these diets to go, okay, I can start to see my jawline again.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 40 next year. And I feel like I'm getting fitter and tighter and stronger. My output is a lot more, even though I've always trained nearly every day, but now I can train every day without getting out of breath. It was like things, in our Asian culture, you get blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, like they're all common. And it's gone from great granddads to granddads to parents to, our generation. And, seeing it is like, it can't just be hereditary. Like maybe it can be hereditary, but at the same time, there's got to be something related to the things that we eat.
Let's think about it. When you look back in time, okay, our fathers, our grandfathers, great grandfathers, they maybe came from hardship. Yeah, wasn't able to put food on the table. So, all of a sudden, when food was on the table, and you see somebody that's got a big paunch, as opposed to somebody that's skinny, in your mind, people thought, he must be wealthy. He must be in a good place just by the appearance. So I think in our cultures, it's come through time. And I've seen it myself. I go to see family and friends, and I look at these people and they've like got big paunches now. And I think, oh my God, what's happened? And they said to me, oh, Raj, you've lost weight. You don't look healthy. No. I am healthy. I might not look it, but just because I haven't got a paunch doesn't mean I'm not healthy. So I think it's been ingrained into our brains over the years, and our fathers, forefathers, that if you have a paunch, you've made it because you've got enough food on the table. What we have to do is to change that mindset to say, actually, you don't need to have that paunch. You can still be healthy and wealthy without having the paunch to show to others. So that's where I see us changing how people perceive certain things and breaking those old traditions. You mentioned the fact that you've changed your diet because of the circle of friends that you now associate with. Some people have the same circle of friends and they all do the drinking and the binging and the fast foods, but someone has to come in, either break that circle or you have to step away from it. And once you step away, you now know that you're invested in your health. So somehow, in whichever shape or form, we need to break what the norm is, society. These fast food chains, and we see it all the time. I very rarely have a fast food, maybe once or twice a month, like a McDonald's or a KFC. I used to, when I was younger, it'd be like, oh my God, once or twice a week. But now, maybe once or twice a month, just as a treat, but then that you feel bloated afterwards. You think, was it really worthwhile? I'm just going to step back a little bit, where you're saying that when you go to restaurants, you see all these layer of oil and fat and everything like that. But when you had your mum's home cooked curry to the one in a restaurant, did you have the same feeling? Probably not.
My mum cooks very healthy. She
Yeah.
uses like spray oils, and she goes, and she'll always go, I know you don't eat Asian food, but I made it really healthy. I use coconut oil in this. It's cooked differently. I've boiled it extra, and it's just got a little mildness to it.
But home cooking is always the best because you know exactly what you've put in. When you have it from the restaurants, you don't know what else. They put extra salt in it to make sure it's flavoursome. They have other things, additives and preservatives.
Sodium and stuff.
All of that.
Gives you the shits the next morning.
Yeah. So, you got to balance that up. And I'm the same as you now. When my other half says, let's go to a nice Indian restaurant, I think, no, let me make one at home. Because the next day, your body's not going to regret it. And it's like, it's the norm now, isn't it? When you see, I don't know if you ever watched the Goodness Gracious Me series where, people used to go to Indian restaurant and it was the norm to have the diarrhea the next day. Otherwise, you haven't had a good curry, but that's not the right thing.
What do you think of fasting? So there's this stigma of, like, for example, I fast. I haven't eaten. I've been to the gym this morning, had a meeting. I'll probably break my fast about 3:00, probably something around that time. I like to fast, rest my body before I eat. I've personally heard that if you have damaged cells in your body, they die when you fast because your body needs energy and it's going to use it from any stored fat or any cells that are damaged before they move on to the good cells that you need. Is that myth true? Is there any scientific research done with, is fasting good, or am I just doing it to torture myself?
No, I think you're investing in yourself again. Now, whether the scientific research backs it, but if you go back in time again, when I was younger, my mum used to tell me, and they do fasting on certain days, for religious days, on a Tuesday or a Thursday. And I was going, Mum, and I go, Mum, what are you doing? I'm just eating fruit today, or I'm just going to have water. And at the time, you just thought, Mum, what benefit is this to you? But actually, they knew that it was beneficial then. And if it's now come into modern society, I fast as well. So from like 8:00 in the evening to maybe the next day to like 7, 8 o'clock till 1, 2 o'clock, same as you. Water, green tea, don't have breakfast. And then from like 1 or 2 o'clock, you'll eat healthy food from 1 to 8. The benefits of it is that you're controlling what you're putting in your body. And when you do eat, I guarantee that you're going to eat the right things. You're not going to, whereas if you're constantly eating, you'll pick up a biscuit or a cookie or a packet of crisps, and that all adds up with all the saturated fat in there, going to mess up your internal organs. So fasting is definitely beneficial, and I think more people should be doing it. I don't know if you've heard of the 5-2 diet, where you 2 days a week you fast and 5 days. That's another option people should do. If you think about it, if you take 2,000 calories every day, which is the average of 2,000 or 1,500, whether you're male or female, and 2 of those days you take away, then instead of taking 1,400 calories, you're taking 1,200. So straight away you've got a benefit. Your body's taking less food, so you're gonna gradually lose weight. And the benefits, as you say, immune system, boost the immune system. Your body during that period of starvation is repairing itself. It's trying to work out, I'm not getting any food, I need to become a bit more lean. Sean's not giving me any food for like a whole day, and the regeneration benefits are massive. So everybody, I think, should be doing 1 or 2 days fasting, obviously taking your advice from your doctor or pharmacist to make sure that you're safe. Health benefits, especially if you're trying to lose weight as well. There's so many people, so much obesity there as well. If you do fasting, it's going to benefit, and you're going to feel better for yourself as well.
Is that resetting yourself when you fast?
Yeah, your body. And linked to that, cold showers. Have you ever had a cold shower?
I ain't doing that.
You got to do it, Sean. Trust me.
Breezy, and I'll get a fever, mate.
No. When you first start doing it, you think to yourself, what am I doing? But now every morning, at least 2 minutes, just and it retrains your brain. It gives your body a shock start. And I
don't need that negativity in my life.
No.
Them shocks.
Boosts your immune system. Honestly, you got to do it. Start, Sean. And then come back to me in a month's time and say...
I get ill once in maybe 18 months.
Right.
And that's like a little cough or a cold that I've caught. But that's how long until... I go gym every morning. I don't know if that helps. I like to do a bit of cardio, boot camp. Even on a Sunday, I did a boot camp for 2 hours. And because I feel better when I work out. Try to control the diet as much as possible. Of course, we have them off days where I'm just like, I need some sugar.
Have a cheat day.
Or, but I just want to regulate my body. Now, here's something personal. My mum got diagnosed with stomach cancer last year.
Yeah.
And they found it at a very late stage. She's doing really well at the moment. She's on medication, on chemotherapy. It's obviously made her lose her hair and things like that. But another shock that's come is the fact that she's had a genetic test done, and it came from a CDH1 genetic mutation, which means like it tells the cells if it's going the right way or wrong way, like is it ABCD or is it ABFJH? And as soon as that happens, these two genes goes, hey, delete them ones and start going this way. She's had one that didn't work, if that makes sense. Supposedly my dad's fine and he's got two that work, but here's the thing, the body doesn't just choose the strongest one when you're reproducing it. You're either going to have the recessive one or the good one. So me and all my siblings have had to go and get tested.
Yeah.
So I've just had a blood test done, and it was quite emotional actually, sitting down and all of a sudden like I was like, yeah, I'm ready for this. Like I've researched everything, so I was like, you're not going to shock me. I'm not being negative about it. I'm a realist. I like to know what the reality of a situation is. And they were like, are you okay? I was like, I'm absolutely fine. Did you know about today? Because I said, yeah, I've even got a blood test booked. And they go, oh, that was one of the things we were going to book. So they crossed that bit out and they go, do you know what this gene is? I said, yeah, this is what, if it detonates, it basically turns into stomach cancer. And she goes, okay, just to let you know the stats, you've got a 50% chance of having this. Only 1 to 2% of the whole sort of population have this. And being that your mum has it, and I know my mum's 3-4 of my mum's siblings have unfortunately passed away from cancers. Yes. So I know it's something that could have originated from that same sort of genetic. And so that was a bit of a blow. And then they said, and if you do have it, That's the first bit. And they said, look, you got 4, 8, 12 weeks before we tell you, have you got any functions or anything coming up or this? I went, listen, even if I do, it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect it. You just got to tell me what I got to do. I've always felt that I've had digestive issues. I've had a camera put from the rear side, and I thought they're going to find some polyps or something like that, because I've always had gas or this, and I thought they're going to find something. And he goes, look at that, Mr. Land, it's so nice and red in here and lovely veins and everything. I was like, okay, cool, I'm not that bad, maybe I'm just having reactions to certain foods. And last year they put is it the endoscopy? They've done that, and they were going, well, we might find this or we might find, and then they were like, no, it's actually really good and clean in here. And then they go, can we test for some bacteria?
H. pylori.
H. pylori, that's it. And they had to do this rapid test. And I thought, so while I was waiting, and I was a bit emotional that they'd done that, I thought, oh, shit, they've done this other H. pylori test. What is this rapid test? And they go, you'll be glad to know you haven't got that sort of high
bug,
in that. So I was like, okay, that's good. But I've had this same consultation again just a few weeks ago, and they said to me, you can have a H. pylori test. I went, well, you can do that one, but I think they've already done that. So they said, look, first of all, if it is a yes, then you're 70% likely to have a cancer in your lifetime, which is a hell of a long time. And so I already researched most of what I could do about this, but they said you would probably have to have an endoscopy every single year. And in my mind, that isn't really an option, because I think that would probably stress me out more. And it will be like, have I got it this year? Have I got it this year? Oh, here's the year I've got it, or whatever. Like, it's quite a negative feeling.
But then if you think about it, you got a car that you take to the garage every 6 months, every year. You have a service. They check it out for you. And they say, yeah, sure, nothing to worry about. You can drive it for another year. You now just making sure that your body's in a good state so you can drive it for another year, 2 years. So though you might think, oh, it's a bit of a palaver, but wouldn't you rather know than to leave it?
To be honest, yes and no. I mean, the way it happened to my mum's stomach's like this, and it's like a wrapper. It's going around. It's not a tumor, it's a wrapper.
Right.
And so it's very hard to spot as well. And you normally spot it when it's normally too late. It already went into a fat tissue. So it's like, hey, it's already spread, it's stage 4 already. And it gives you very limited choices. And especially when you've got young kids, you think, hey. So I have researched on what can be done. And basically, you can have your stomach removed to eliminate it, which is something I would heavily consider. And basically, they cut your esophagus all the way to your small intestine and just fuse it together, and they just take your stomach out. And it's all done through keyhole surgery. They mash it up and just basically take it out. And it's basically turned your stomach into something about this size into probably a cup size, which means you have to have loads of small meals. I've already trained myself to sort of start eating whole foods, nutritious foods, not consuming too much chocolate, crisps or junk food, to eat good solid foods like roasted chicken, broccolis, and these super green foods, and cottage cheese for protein, avocados for healthy fats, and like training myself. And they say it might take your body about a year to adjust, but sometimes over time your small intestines actually gets bigger and you can start eating bigger portions and stuff.
So is that something that you think you're going to have done, or
if I'm positive for it,
bless you,
then I would there's a specialist team in Cambridge or Oxford, is one of them, the specialist oncology team, and they, first of all, it goes to a lab and they're researching and they tell me all the genetic side. So this is the first ever time I've had somebody looking at my blood with such a precision eye and a lot of research. So maybe they could find something different in terms of why I'm bloating all the time, why I'm consuming 1600 calories and still not in a calorie deficit. Like, it feels like there is an issue there. You've tried so many things. So removing your stomach, like, just on that point. So what I'm trying to get at here is, are there certain organs in your body that you can live without, such as your gallbladder, your stomach?
I think you can. I think the two organs that you cannot live without your heart, definitely, and probably your brain. But I think they did a transplant somewhere where they've maybe transplanted one monkey's brain into another. So, but I think definitely the heart is the biggest thing, because if you think, when you sleep, the only organ that's actually continuing to work is your heart, making sure the blood is going around the body. I think your brain goes into some sort of REM sleep and probably just winds down, switches off for a little while. Your muscles are wind. So, yeah, other organs probably can live without, but then would you really want to live without a specific organ? So that's a question to you. As we all get older, what organ would you be able to live without? Now, if someone says you can't hear anymore, or you can't smell, or you can't taste, or you can't see, or you can't feel, they're all important. Or you can't walk. They're all important organs. And imagine if you couldn't walk and you were just in one place, life would be frustrating. So it all goes back to the beginning of our podcast, is to make sure you're doing the best that you can today to invest in your health. Health is wealth more than anything. You could have all the money in the world, and if you wake up every morning with aches and pains, how much of that would you be willing to give away so you can wake up not having any pain or not having any illness?
Is there an organ in the body that can regenerate itself, that undo damage that you've done earlier on?
I think the body is very good at regenerating itself. If you think about it, it's a tremendous computer in what it can do and how it functions and how all the organs work together. So whether any organs can regenerate, I would probably say that the body can regenerate itself together and work together. And it can adapt, because people do live without specific organs, don't they? They live without kidneys, or they can have a kidney transplant, and they can live with just one kidney. So the body can adapt. And the human body is a powerful thing in the same way the mind is a powerful thing. So
Makes sense, because one of my uncles has dialysis every few days. He's like, I could have all the money in the world. It wouldn't mean anything because I need to get attached to these machines to clean the blood in my body.
yeah. And yet, if you asked him if he could have maybe one day or 1 week where he wouldn't have to do that, it'd bite your hand off, and he'd say, yeah, give me 2 weeks where I don't have to keep going into hospital and having the dialysis. Because it's and unfortunately it may be healthy, but as you get older, it gets harder, doesn't it? Harder.
Recently, I've had two close friends who have passed away. One was 38 and one was actually 39. Well, they were friends of friends, actually.
Yeah.
And I've just seen a Facebook post in Love in Memory. And we've messaged and say, sorry about the bereavement, sorry, rest in peace. But what is the cause of the death? And in both cases was heart attacks. And they said,
very young age.
yeah, and they said, this guy, he died of a heart attack. And it's like, how did he die of a heart attack? Because, well, he was very peaceful because he just died in his sleep. And this other girl, she was on the status. She had a six-pack and she looked really good and healthy. Looked like she was happy. And again, same thing, died of a heart attack. And a few other people have said they know people who have died of young heart attacks. Is there something that you've spotted that are causing heart attacks or them symptoms coming about quicker?
I think what we need to do from a very young age is start thinking about how we monitor ourselves and our body, listening to the signs and signals. When you get a headache, people think, oh, I'll just reach for some paracetamol. But what's the cause of the headache? Headache could be because your blood pressure's gone up. So you keep taking paracetamol, but you're not actually dealing with the blood pressure. So the blood pressure goes up, put strain on the heart. Could there be a possibility of a heart attack? Yeah. So what we need to do is to read the signals. So everybody's having these signals. Try and monitor your blood pressure. I would tell everybody, from a certain age, from 20, 25, We actually in pharmacies do blood pressure check for the over 40s, yeah, because we're trying to screen. There's lots of people out there currently in their 40s walking around, and it's called the silent killer, blood pressure.
What causes high blood pressure?
Stress, anxiety, lifestyle, too much salt in your diet, not exercising, smoking, vaping, and just the modern life where everybody's racing, not taking time out for yourself. So life is simple if you keep monitoring yourself, keep doing the right things. It's going to prolong your life. Eat the right foods. Don't eat the wrong foods. It's simple. And if you do, choose your moments.
Tell me something. How much is vaping unknown? There's so many people have got one of these elf bars and fruit things, and it's a electrical device which is mimicking a flavor of a fruit. You're sucking it, and it's got a charger in it, and it's produced for pennies somewhere in China, and it's shipped over here, and you're buying it for a couple of quid at a profit for them. What is that actually doing to people?
I would say, smoking many years ago was, the big thing. And I did read somewhere that the government used to give cigarettes to the soldiers, when they're out fighting, and just to get rid of the boredom. But, down the line, didn't realize that actually those soldiers were going to get cancer. And now look, smoking, we know the history. Same again with vaping. It's a new thing, but to me, it's a foreign thing that you're putting in your body. Your body, somebody's made that, yeah, and you're inhaling vapor into your lungs, yeah. Your body should just be inhaling oxygen, and you now telling your body to inhale this vapor because you're getting the benefits. I've never smoked or vape. I never will. I think it's just so unnatural. But I guarantee in 5, 6, 7 years time, they'll have more studies, and they'll say, and actually I've done some videos on benefits of vaping, not benefits, the serious effects of vaping and smoking. And I think the mixed message that's been given out is that because people think if you stop smoking and you start vaping, it's safer. It may be safer, but it's still not safe. The best thing you can do is not to vape at all, or not to smoke at all.
I heard people saying there's things growing on people's lungs.
Yeah,
by
popcorn lung and all these different things and growths. I mean, how can that be safe? And okay, you vape today, but think about it. If you're a 30-year-old and you've got a child and you're vaping, when you're 50 and you've got all these things going on in your lungs, are you going to be in a good place to look after your children and your children's children?
What's popcorn lung?
It's where you get deposits of some of the vapors, and it actually your lung starts looking like a popcorn. So then basically it causes breathing problems.
And can they regenerate themselves or clean themselves out?
Difficult one to answer, depends on the severity. But as soon as you stop vaping or in smoking, your lungs can regenerate. May not go back to 100%, but it's better than continually causing it damage.
Mm-hmm. Can you avoid diabetes?
Yes. In certain cases, if it's type 1, which is because of your insulin and the pancreas not functioning properly, you can't. But maturity onset, type 2 diabetes, is linked to the simple things that I've been talking throughout the whole of this podcast, talking about eating healthy, exercising, controlling the weight. We talked about smoking, vaping, all of these things, controlling your blood pressure, salt intake, have no salt in your diet, and just eating the right foods and portion control.
What do you think of Himalayan salt?
It has benefits, health benefits. Definitely, there's benefits to it. I'm not 100% taken on it, but but just reducing salt. I mean, it's got minerals and things like that, so it may be a fad that comes and goes. But
What do you think of all these things that are coming on, like on TikTok? What is it? What's the new one? MNM? It's something that celebrities take, and it says it reverses your aging.
I've heard about it, but I've not seen any recent research paper, so I can't make comment on that.
And this Celtic salt.
Celtic salt, yeah, I've seen it. I'm still not sold on any of that. Yeah, just have the normal salt, eat healthy, keep life simple. You don't need all these extra supplements.
Mm-hmm. A big question is what happened during COVID?
In what sense?
All of a sudden, everybody was locked down. There was this foreign disease called COVID, and people were randomly sort of dying or being diagnosed that they died because of COVID. Was COVID real?
From a personal point of view,
Yeah.
I would say it was real because I lost my dad to COVID. So that's a really sad moment. And I know there's lots of controversy about it, whether it was something that was man-made or they're doing it to reduce the population of the world. But, I don't know. But as I said, it's a very touchy subject because I lost my dad during lockdown. It was fine. But as soon as lockdown lifted and he caught it, he had other health conditions going on. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But I don't really want to make any comments about any of the controversy or anything like that.
Do you think it was fair about the vaccines coming out and how compulsory they were? Like, you need to do your bit for the country by being vaccinated. Can medical bodies find a vaccination that quick for a disease that they've just come across?
I think it's tremendous that they did. So it just goes to show that when push comes to shove, in a pandemic, etc., everything, all the stops are pulled out, to give us the vaccine. Whether the vaccine was the right thing, that everyone had to have it, we were pressured. I would say that even I, at the time, you start thinking, if I don't have it, what happens if I get COVID and then that pass away? What's going to happen to my children? They're not going to have a father. Those thought processes. And I was fortunate that I didn't have to work during that time, even though I wanted to work. You think if I went and worked and I came home and I gave my daughters or my wife COVID, how would that be? So it's really difficult because it was a moment in time where we were all locked in a place. We had to stay at home. There were plus points because you spent time with your family for 6-9 months, however long it was. You wake up, the whole world was on standstill. You could sit in your garden together. Quality time that you probably will never, ever experience ever again. So, plus and minus points. Obviously, there's other things that went on where people's whole life was on standstill and they had other issues that sort of came out from it. But it's come and gone now.
Did you feel helpless in terms of, you said you lost your father to COVID and you're a qualified pharmacist, you know how drugs work, you know how body functions, what can help you, what can't help you, you know how all your instruments work and blood pressure, things you've got to have, how did that make you feel when, you said you lost your father to COVID? How did you deal with that?
It's a really difficult time because at the time, even though you have all the knowledge, when it happens to a loved one, and unfortunately he got dementia as well, so we lost him to that for many, many years, for maybe 10, 11 years. But once again, when you look back at the cycle of events, and we talked about being overweight, having a stressful job, but he was working all the hours to, work for us. We came with nothing. We were one of the people that had to be evacuate Uganda many years ago. We had everything there, but we had to come to the UK with nothing and build everything from scratch. So I hardly ever saw my dad. He was constantly working, maybe the stresses and strains over the years, doing long hours to support his family. He actually helped others as well, people that come as part of the community. And we've got a home in Wellingborough, Northamptonshire, where a lot of families were siphoned through our house at some stage. I think we had about 20 families living with us under one roof, because my dad was constantly helping and trying to support many people. So over the years, the toll on his life, the stress, heart disease he had diabetes, blood pressure, all these things. If we could have just nipped it in the bud a lot earlier. And as a pharmacist, a young pharmacist, you don't see it. You don't always see it in your own family. And even when he did get dementia, unless you experience it and you've lived through it, it's hard to detect it. When sometimes he would get annoyed and angry, you'd think, Dad, what's wrong with you? That's not you. Because he wasn't like that. But then you realize the pattern and the growth. And it got to a stage when he did get dementia, it was locked in his own mind. And Mum and my sisters, bless them, they looked after Dad so well. At the time I had my business, so I couldn't spend as much time with them either. But I did feel helpless, because having all that knowledge about medication, we chose not to give him any dementia medication. In a way, the benefits maybe helped him live longer because of the side effects and all the repercussions that when you start taking these medication. So he was content in himself, but still, I think he was trapped and locked in a bubble. Being a pharmacist, having all that knowledge about medication, I couldn't really help him. And you can't. And I had a really sad case once when I was younger, where I came home, Mum was screaming, something's happened to Dad. No, this is the middle of the night, about 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Something's happened to Dad. Something's happened to Dad. And I thought, oh my God. And I wear glasses, so I take the glasses off at night time. I couldn't find them. And I had to run into my dad's bedroom. He had blood coming out of his mouth. And I thought, my God, something's happened to Dad. What happens if we lost him? But even in that moment, you're in survival mode. There's nothing you can do. Having the knowledge about medication and what heart disease is or what heart attack, you just have to cope. We managed to get him to hospital, but the repercussions of what happened then, the after effects of having either a stroke or heart attack, those are far reaching, and they continue to make your life really difficult. So what I'm saying is that all of us go back to investing in your health today, making the most of every moment and living and breathing and doing the right things so that you're always in the right position, not today, but in 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years down the line. And you must have children. Have you got children? Yeah. You want to be in the best place when you're 80, 90 years old, being able to look after your children and grandchildren. And the only way you're going to do that is from today, isn't it?
What causes dementia?
They're still researching as what caused it. Okay. Now, with regards to dementia, the brain is a real complex tool. And I think a lot to do with is that we're living longer. And the brain, at some stage, cannot keep functioning. It's like a computer. The old computers, they get slower. A computer that you bought 5, 6, 7 years ago. And it's probably the same with the brain. Previously, people used to die a lot earlier, so we never saw it. Now, with modern medicine, heart medication, blood pressure medication, diabetes, people are living longer. but we're still not sure what's happening to the brain. So a lot of research needs to be done about it. And I ran, one of my proudest moments was running the London Marathon. And I ran for Dementia Revolution at the time. I raised a lot of money for charity, very passionate, and I enjoy running. And I'm doing that every day, investing in myself, 30 minutes, go for a run, come back, and the benefits that you get from it. And I know that will help because my grandma had dementia. My dad had dementia. On my wife's side of the family, dad had dementia. So there's dementia running in the family. So we have to think, will my children get it? So you got to put yourself in the best position so that I don't get it and then become a burden on my children, and making sure I'm in a good place when I'm 70, 80 years old so that I can still live a good life and be healthy and happy. So that's what people should having the mindset of today, is to stay healthy as much as possible and for as long as possible.
Makes sense. I've got a few medications that people can buy off the counter,
Yeah.
or they are normally prescribed, like just take this and it'll be, everything will be fine. So here are 10 common off-the-counter medicines that doctors often recommend for various symptoms. The first one is paracetamol, and the medical term is acetaminophen.
Acetaminophen. Okay, so acetaminophen is the American name, but paracetamol is what is commonly known in the UK. I mean, they say it's one of the safest medications, but recent research has shown that it can cause kidney problems, it can cause liver disease, it can cause heart problems. A lot of people take medication like paracetamol and they're popping it up to 8 times a day. We don't know the long-term implications. So advice to people is, if you need to take it, also monitor what's going on in your body. You can get allergic reactions to paracetamol as well. Your lips or your fingers can start turning blue. And I've done a video on it on one of my channels. Respiration problems as well. So this research is now coming out, and yet for years, this medication has been safe. So I'm not saying stop, take it. It's not safe anymore, but take it, but always take it at the lowest effective dose. Yeah. If you need to pop a couple of paracetamol because you've got a slight headache, take the paracetamol. But when you start taking 6 or 8 a day over a long period of time, something somewhere is going to stop working, and just making sure you're alert. And, people don't ever read the patient information leaflet. I'm hoping that you're not on any medication, but if you take paracetamol or ibuprofen, how many people actually read the leaflet and say, oh, this could cause this and this can cause this? Hardly. They just take it, don't they? Because it's the norm.
Yeah, I mean, people think, there's always side effects to something, but my problem is bigger than that right now, I don't take paracetamol at all, and that was quite weird for a few of my friends to go, I've got a bit of a headache at the moment, just need a bit of time, and they were like, what, have you had paracetamol? I was like, no. Why don't you take one? I said, I've never taken that. And they were like, but why not? I was like, I don't want to rely on a drug to get rid of my headache.
Correct. Find out what the underlying cause is. I mean, I've been doing pharmacy for 33 years now, and I'm thinking to myself, I know at some stage down the line, medical intervention, or I might have to take medicine at some stage, but I'm trying to delay the process for as long as possible, and blood pressure slowly creeping up, and I think to myself, right, how am I going to bring it down? I don't want to go on blood pressure medication, but let's do the right things. Cut out the naughty foods. I love eating crisps. They've disappeared now. I used to love eating cookies and biscuits, once a week now, maybe once a month if I treat myself. So all these things, you now have to adjust your lifestyle and the things that you do to position yourself to be in the best health. And paracetamol, I can't remember last time I took any medication.
Second one is ibuprofen, a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug.
Wow.
NSAID.
NSAID, yeah.
For pain.
So we could get you working in the pharmacy, Sean. I mean, you're reading these names and these terms. That's absolutely brilliant. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, yeah. So ibuprofen and paracetamol, two different things. So paracetamol helps with pain relief and brings down the temperature. Ibuprofen, non-steroidal, it's anti-inflammatory, so it stops inflammation. So it also brings down the temperature and also helps with pain relief. So the two differences is that ibuprofen, if you've got dental pain or muscular pain, the muscle's normally inflamed, isn't it? So if you take ibuprofen, it's going to reduce the inflammation as well. So the swelling. So if you get dental, so ibuprofen is great for things like dental pain. Problem with the ibuprofen is that if you're asthmatic, it can trigger an asthma attack. So if you're taking ibuprofen regularly, you might find that you're wheezing more. Also can, over long-term use, it's a drug that's similar to aspirin. Now, aspirin, everybody knows about aspirin. Long-term effects, if you take aspirin, can cause stomach ulcers. So if you've got a sensitive stomach, you've got to be careful that you don't take too much ibuprofen or aspirin. Also making sure you take them with or after food. That's so important. But once again, with these medication, take them, but be wary. Always read the patient information leaflet. You might pick it up and you'd be scared, oh, I don't want to take this. But it's always benefits versus risks versus long-term effects, okay? If the benefits outweigh the risks today, just be aware that down the line, some of these medication can cause stomach ulcers. So if you're taking ibuprofen long-term, you just got to be wary of it.
Down here it says it can irritate the stomach and cause issues for people with kidney problems.
Yeah, so then kidney problems as well. Aspirin, kidney problem, paracetamol can cause kidney problems as well. So once again, making sure you're taking the medication at the lowest effective dose for you. Don't just keep popping the pills because you're thinking, right, it's fine. It's controlling my pain. But you need to make sure your kidneys are tested regularly. You're having the blood tests for liver function, all the things. We talked about monitoring the car. When you jump in the car, when it's out of fuel, you fill up the fuel. Now, if you're taking ibuprofen regularly and you start getting kidney pains or pains down here or stomach pains, it's a signal. Your body's telling you something's wrong. Don't ignore it. Think, right, what could be the cause? And think of the cause. And I think what people need to do is to maybe take stock of the medication that they're on, think whether they really need to take them. There's certain medication if you've had a stroke or heart attack or you're diabetic, but look at whether you need to take this medication. Is it giving you side effects? What can I do to stop taking this medication if I can stop them? And it could be just simple lifestyle measures.
What about the next one is what you've covered a little bit. It's called aspirin.
Yeah.
Often used for pain, fever, or as a blood thinner. A myth is aspirin should be taken daily by everyone for heart health. But the reality, it says, it's not suitable for everyone and can cause stomach bleeding.
That's right. I mean, the benefits of it is that it's also aspirin, painkiller, but it also thins the blood. So people that are at risk of heart attack, if you've got family history of heart disease, stroke, once again, the diet. If you're eating all your croissants and biscuits, you're going to clog up your arteries, so the blood cannot flow freely around the body. So what the aspirin does is a blood thinner. So your blood will then flow more smoothly and it reduces the risk of heart attack and stroke. Now, if you have a stroke, that's like not enough oxygen or blood to your brain. And what can happen is that it then impacts other organs and your lifestyle. People, when they have a stroke, they lose use of the left side of their body and things like that. So you don't want to put yourself at risk. If you need to take aspirin every day, take it with or after food. It will minimize the problems that you get with ulcers, etc. Whether everybody needs to take it, in a way, sometimes I think it could be beneficial, but I don't take it. But maybe in a few years I might have to take it because of the lifestyle choices I've made.
And finally, I want to speak about this one because my mom was actually on this one. It's called
Omeprazole
Omeprazole. That's it. A proton pump
inhibitor.
inhibitor for acid reflux and heartburn.
Okay.
So there's a myth says it's fine to take omeprazole long term. Reality says long term can lead to nutrient deficiencies and increased risk of bone fractures. So what is omeprazole?
So omeprazole is called a proton pump inhibitor. It stops excess acid production. So a lot of people get heartburn, indigestion. It could also be that you may have certain condition that your body's just producing excess acid. So the doctor would decide whether you need to be on it. Also, they give it to patients that are over 65 that are on multiple medications. Not over 65, just generally people. If you go in and you're on 4 or 5 different medications, they give it to protect your stomach, because when you're taking tablets, your body produces excess acid to break the tablets down. And when you produce too much acid, the acid is a corrosive substance and it can damage the lining of your stomach and you can get ulcers. So they give it to you to protect you against that. Underlying thing is that in most cases, if you're taking it for long-term use because you're on other medication, you should have vitamin B12 levels monitored. You should have your calcium levels monitored because there's risk of bone demineralization. It leaches the bone, so there's an increase of fractures. And if you think about it, as we get older, we get less mobile. And when you do, you get unsteady. You're on multiple medications because you're trying to control your blood pressure. You might feel dizzy, and then you're likely to fall. Now, if you're taking omeprazole or a PPI, if you fall, what's going to happen? Your bones fracture. So we got to weigh up the long-term use of it. Most cases, if people are getting heartburn or indigestion, take it for maybe 3 months, reassess what's causing it, and then, you shouldn't take it more than a year because there's long-term effects. There are even certain cases that it gives you things like SLE and lupus and some forms of cancers if you take them for more than 2 to 3 years. So I've had lots of patients. I've done these videos on my social media channel just to raise awareness of people, because people think that they can just take it for a long time. And I've had friends that I always used to tell them, why are you taking omeprazole? Why are you taking lansoprazole? I always take it because my doctor's prescribing it. And then when they saw my videos and they realized that actually they don't need it, we slowly weaned them off it. The thing is, if you're taking it long term, don't just stop it suddenly. There's a risk that you may get rebound acid reflux. So your acid, because it's been suppressed for so long, all of a sudden you take the medication away, your body starts producing more. You're going to get more acid reflux. So you have to wean yourself off it slowly. So maybe take it one every day, one every other day, and in between, look at what you're eating, less spicy foods, smaller portions. You want to go back to the basics. We're always talking about the simple things in life to look after your health. People make it too complicated. Oh, I can't diet. I can't do this. Just simple things, drinking lots of water. And once you've decided to come off it, do it really slowly. And then over time, you can maybe take it once a week, every now and again, if you have a spicy meal and you need to top it up because you're getting the reflux. But ultimately, you shouldn't be taking it long term. But I understand your mum might be on other medication, so they're giving it to her just to protect. But make sure mum has all the blood tests, the B12, the magnesium, the bone, the bone scans to make sure that, 5, 6, 7, 10 years that she's not going to be at risk of bones. So making sure you're taking the supplements like the calcium to help.
I mean, I actually started a B12 myself. It's a specific B12 vitamin, and it is called basically methyl cobala. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it basically your body produces.
Say it again. I'm trying to.
Here you go.
Oh, methylcobalamin. Yes,
Sorry,
1,000. Yeah,
maybe that's where I went wrong.
there you go.
But they said that's the state in which after your body breaks down B12, it turns into that state, which then it consumes. So you can buy this product by itself, and there's another B12 which your body then has to break it down before it can sort of absorb it. And one of my friends said that their energy levels just hit off the roof after taking this, and they said just go and try that, Sean, and see what happens to you.
Yeah, so vitamin B6, B12, all of the vitamin Bs, if you've got low levels, you get fatigue and tiredness. So you supplementing it. Obviously, supplementing your diet with vitamins isn't always necessary unless you've got a deficiency. So, there's lots of vitamins out there. As long as you're eating a healthy diet, fresh fruit, vegetables, spinach, broccoli. You mentioned avocados earlier, omega oils, omega-3 fish, nuts, legumes, Brazil nuts, all of that. If you eat healthy, you don't necessarily need the supplements, okay? And you can get a lot of the vitamins. And the best thing about having the vitamins through natural sources is your body can digest them easier, okay? Vitamins and supplements that you buy from the various companies, they're all made in different ways. They have different ways that the tablet is compacted. They have different excipients, ingredients to make them bind together. Now, your body, you might take one B6 or B12, and I take the same one, but your body may not be able to absorb it better, whereas mine does. So that's why there's so many vitamins out there, different companies hailing that theirs is the best vitamin, they're the best absorbed. So what you need to do is to find the one that suits you, but you don't necessarily need it unless you've got a specific deficiency. Eat healthy if you eat the right things. Now, if you're taking them, have you found any benefits from it?
So far, I don't feel so. But because I've got higher energy levels anyway,
Yeah.
so I can't really notice it too much. But sometimes I've got to give it at least a couple of weeks to go, look, do I notice a sizable difference?
So maybe worth doing the blood test. Ask your doctor just to see. And that's one of the things I did recently as well. I haven't been to the doctor for many, many years. And when I had this incident about a month ago, I thought, right, we need to do a full-scale blood test and everything. And they did. Everything was normal. And I have high energy levels. And I sometimes think, oh, should I be taking a multivitamin? At the moment, just eating the right foods and the healthy foods is the best way.
What about some of these natural grown products? So they say this ashwagandha, mushroom root, shilajit, which is a black tar that comes from the Himalayan mountains. What do you think of all of these?
I mean, all of these the things that come from, like the Far East, etc. I wouldn't knock it. When I was younger, Mum used to always make us drink turmeric milk to help with the throat and things like that. And at the time, I used to go, Mum, I don't want this. This is not, no, please. And actually, everybody's on turmeric now, taking turmeric.
I do turmeric juice every morning. And then I also do a spoonful of black seed oil.
Yeah.
Just chuck it down.
That's right.
And it actually lubricants all my pipes, and it actually helps me go bathroom a lot easier as well.
Yeah.
But they say in the Far East, and it's written in old scriptures, that stuff like that stops like diseases and helps your body flow better.
Because if you think about it, all those years ago, they didn't have laboratories and research facilities where they can do it. So they had to choose the natural things that benefit. And I think what we should be doing is looking and putting more research in the natural things that are coming out, like as you talked about ashwagandha, all these alternative remedies that are more beneficial and they're natural. So definitely, worth exploring. And I think there are benefits. But once again, don't take any of these preparations unless you've spoke to your doctor or your pharmacist to make sure there's no direct interactions with the current medication that you're on.
And finally, before we wrap this one up, Raj, I want to ask you, what do you think of, first of all, social media? And second of all, I know you're becoming quite a big star on TikTok with your lives. And what's sort of been the main factor for you to come online? You look like quite a big age as well. And, a lot of people are not coachable at a certain age where they're going, oh, I ain't doing none of that TikTok stuff, etc. So talk to me about that side.
So one of my passions has always been health. Okay, now the reason I'm choosing social media to share the knowledge and experience that I've had for so many years. Also want to leave like a legacy for my dad in a way so that I can share the fruits of how I was able to be in this position. I've won lots of awards in my pharmacy. Um, European Pharmacist of the Year, UK Pharmacist of the Year, Independent Pharmacist of the Year. I was on the board of the NPA for many years, steering community pharmacy at a high level. But the underlying thing is I'm a pharmacist. I know about medication, and I think people just need to be made aware the medication is there, but you need to understand how it works, why it's been prescribed, whether you really need it or not, and just sharing my knowledge so that it wakes people up and think, it's not all about just taking the magic pill and then forgetting about it. So social media gives me the opportunity to share my knowledge with as many people as possible, and it's really enjoyable. I'm not doing anything different. If you came into my pharmacy in the same way and asked me about medication, I'd be able to tell you using social media, I can use that to enlighten the world, and I've had people reach out to me from Australia and the USA. I had my own pharmacy, and the only people that I could really influence at the time were the people in a 1 or 2 mile radius. Now, jumping on social media, I can reach out to people. We had people from Iran and Iraq asking me questions. And my ultimate aim is that whenever you want a medical related question answered, you want it answered there and then, don't you? You want somebody there that like, and you trust will give you an answer or give you a steer as to where you can go. And if I'm that person, and you reach out to me, I will try and do the best that I can to give you the best advice. Anybody in the world, however far you are in a little village, somebody somewhere is looking at TikTok, and if they're able to watch one of my videos and get a health benefit from it, then I've done it. Just one person, just to reach out to one person. And if one person watches my video and thinks, wow, fantastic, I've done my duties.
What is what's your goal from social media? Now you're dedicating quite a lot of time for lives. You obviously want to reach people, and you're trying to find out the most efficient way that you can be online and giving the most value and reaching enough people. Do you have a vision of where you're going to take this from your TikTok lives?
Well, ultimately, let's see, could there be a health channel where anybody can tap in from anywhere in the world and get a question answered about medication?
Anything's
Simple.
possible.
Simple, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And if there's one last thing that you'd like to say to the audience at home, what would that be?
My final thing, I'd like to just say thank you to my family, the support that I got from my family, my mum, my dad, my beautiful wife, my lovely daughters, and also like to thank you for this opportunity for me to come and share my knowledge and experience. And I look forward to just sharing my knowledge with the world. Just if I can make a simple thing happen. And one of the things that I do on my channel, I always talk about health. H is wealth. Health is wealth. And that's the most important thing. Live in the moment today to make sure you have the best time of your life.
And where's the best place for everybody to follow you?
At the moment, it's on TikTok with my handle at the Raj Patel. And I reach out. Anybody that sends me a personal direct message, anything to do with medication, I always reply. So that's my vision. I want to be able to help as many people as possible.
So the main channel is TikTok.
Yeah, I'm also on with the same handle. I'm on Instagram and Twitter and all of those, but I'm not posting as much as on them at the moment. But at some stage, as we scale, I will start doing stuff on there as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time. I'm sure you're going to be getting a lot of questions on this podcast anyway, so I'll make sure that you're going to get them. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. I hope it was enlightening, educational, and that's what this podcast is all about. It's not just about business and entrepreneurship. It's all about the other side, your health. That's why we bring on sports stars, music artists, because maybe you like music and you might want to earn money from where your passion is and then put that money to work where you can have a better life for yourself. But today was all about how do we understand our body from a real expert who's award-winning 33 years in this industry, and what a pleasure that is. And guys, you keep this channel going by simply watching it. So just want to ask this one small favor before you leave, and that's to smash the subscribe button because it helps us more than you know. Share this with somebody who might need to hear it. Maybe you have a family member or a friend who's going through some troublesome problems, and maybe this is the podcast that really reaches them and helps them out. So until next time, peace.